Yo, back again with another episode of Cloudy Courtside Chat. Man, what an amazing week we had. Getting out, watching some really good East Texas basketball. Hey, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Let me bring on my co-host, my mentor, my brother, Marlon Cloudy Jr. What's up, my brother?
Yo, what's going on?
There he is. Man, sitting here getting ready to watch this Tar Heel and Duke game, baby. North Carolina all the way. I see you repping over there.
Yeah, Tar Heels in the building. Uh, I wish we had Cam on here so we can talk a little noise, but I guess we'll go ahead.
Mm,
We'll talk to him tomorrow at church.
we gotta leave that Duke fan where he at, man. But hey, let's jump right in. Tuesday night, we got to go right up the road to check out a really good 1A basketball game between Martinsville and Laneville. Um, Actually, for me, it was pretty dope because I knew both head coaches, having personal relationships with both of them. But we'll let you start off with your thoughts on what you saw Tuesday night up in Martinsville.
Well, it was, we go from, like you said, 6A to 1A basketball, and a lot of people might think it's going to be a big drop off. Um, Talent is not on the court, but we saw some big time performances from some players, and it was a playoff atmosphere in the building. We talked about it was for a district championship basically. Both of those teams had played a 1 point game previously in the first half of district, and the crowd brought it, the players brought it, the coaches brought it. It was just you know high level basketball, and star performances stepping up in a big time atmosphere in a big time game.
Yes, sir. Speaking of star performances, man, I'll start with the team that won. Number 35, Mr. Williams. Big boy. Big boy. He's what, about 6'6", 6'7", and
Yeah, I would say 6'6".
okay, 6'6". And when you just walk up on him and look at him, like, okay, he making hurt him in the post, but man, he has good footwork. That's probably what impressed me the most was his footwork. And then he's a 3-level scorer. As you can see, we'll show you the Laneville highlights here shortly. He's stepping out behind the line and hitting some threes from deep. So I was extremely impressed with his game, man. Who stood out to you?
Well, of course, 35, Mr. Williams, he stood out to me because as soon as you see the team, in Texas, the first thing you do is look up, okay, where is he going to play football at? But you got these 1A programs, and they don't play football at their schools. But man, if I was a college coach, I might be trying to see what this young man's future entails, and how we can get him to be a part of our program. Um, they had a kid on this team who's from Laneville. I think he spent last year at Henderson. The year before that, he was, I believe, in Tenaha.
Yes, sir.
He can go. Very, very smooth and talented player. And kind of ran the show for Laneville. Kind of controlled the game. He wasn't efficient in this game, but you could tell that he's the engine that makes them go. And he made some big buckets and some big plays down the stretch of that game, to help them when it started getting real tight.
Yeah, on both ends of the floor. I vividly remember the step back three that he made. I think Martinsville had tied up the ball game. He made a big three to basically put them back in front, quiet the crowd down for a little bit, man, and give them the momentum back. So yeah, Ross is definitely a cat as well that can go. For Martinsville, 13, Bernie, Mr. Bernie. He was dominant on both ends of the floor. And you could tell early he was trying to get a feel for playing against a guy like Williams with size, can move. But he turned it on in that second half, man, and he went to work.
Yeah, in that first half, you know, they were led by the guard.
Yeah, 23.
Reba, and he carried the team, made big shots, made big plays, and then in the second half, you know, you saw a different side of him and you know what he can bring to the table, and I think that you know at the half, coach probably told him like, hey, you're quicker, you know, you're faster, you know, use your strengths and start trying to make an impact on this game. And make an impact on the game, he did. He came out that second half. He was aggressive. He confident, and you know that started shifting the momentum toward Martinsville's side. But every time Martinsville made a run, Laneville would answer. And you know that's what you like about basketball. You know, played at a competitive level is it's going to be a game of runs. You know, but both coaches, you know, have their teams and their guys, you know, level-headed, locked in, focused to withstand those runs. And you know, they both did a good job. You know, you have a personal relationship with them. You know, I know both of them through you over the past couple of years. I tried to get OD. I tried to get him and thought about him joining me at Oak Ridge when I was head coach there, just because I liked what I saw from him when he was at Elysian Field. And you know, they weren't very talented, and I think they ended up getting beat by 20 or 30 in that game when he was at Elysian Field. But I could tell that he was passionate, and you know the things that he did, he was working with his team. A lot of coaches in a situation like that, they just roll the ball out, you know, practice an hour, 2 times a week, go home and just say we bad. So there's no sense in practice. But you could tell he had a passion for the game, and you know he showed that same coaching and that same level of intensity in this game.
And it's funny that you mentioned that word. And viewers know we don't have notes. No, we didn't pre-record this. We're just on here talking basketball and what we saw at the game. And you weren't even in the post-game interview, but that's the exact word that he used. And it was actually pretty dope. It got a little emotional in there because we know each other personally. I know his journey. I know what he's been through and where he's come from, and vice versa. He knows mine. And that was the one word that he used, man, was passion. And how he invests everything into every program that he's been in. And now he's finally reaping the benefits of the hard work that he's put in. And his kids are as well. And after that huge game on Tuesday night, they are in the driver's seat to go win a district championship. So shout out to Coach OD, Coach Deal, excuse me. OD is what we know him as. And on the flip side, man, I had, after a tough loss like that, you never know how you want to interact with people, you know, or what you want to say. But going back to having those personal relationships, Turner Edwards, man, first class. Hats off to you. He's definitely revitalized that program over in Martinsville. They made a regional tournament push last year, and that's what he talked about post-game. This doesn't change our goal. You know, we still have the same goal. We want to make it to the playoffs, and we're going to do just that. We got to take care of business. But after we make it to the playoffs, we don't care what number you are. We don't care where your ranking is. You better be ready because we're going to play hard. So shout out to Coach Edwards as well.
Yeah.
Tuesday was.
Yeah, they did I didn't mean to cut you off, but Martinsville and Coach Edwards, they did a great job of having us set up and taking care of us. You know, you can tell that, you know, they do things the right way over there as far as taking care of people, taking care of the game of basketball. And, you know, that was a good environment. Everybody was hospitable, you know, and you know, whatever we needed from the book, you know, from the concession stand, interviewing, like after a tough game like that, I got to be honest with you, AC. I don't know if I would have to talk to you the next day.
For sure. Yeah.
But, you know, to give his time and, you know, still be upbeat and that shows that he's got the big picture still in mind. That big picture of, our end goal, where we want to be at the end of the season, is still a possibility. And, we might not get this district championship, but we're still rolling.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. Attitude reflects leadership, because you talk about him not wanting to talk. Imagine being a 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid after a tough loss like that. I would be running out of that gym. I wouldn't say anything to anybody, probably family included. But his student athletes and his players, you can see Bernie in his picture. He was dang there smiling. I mean, he knew he gave everything he had. So, I mean, they had nothing to hang their heads about. And shout out to Rebus as well, man. Quick story about him. He is a foreign exchange student. So he is just over here in America, found Martinsville, Texas, thanks to Miss Lisa Sigler and her family. And he is having the time of his life. So shout out to you, young man. You're doing a great job. I hope to see this matchup again in the regional tournament in Austin, Texas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking forward to both of these programs and making a deep run in the playoffs. A quick story about number 10 right here from Laneville. Like, he made some big plays in this game. He filled the stat sheet up. But when he took this picture, he was like, are we going to smile or are we serious? And I asked him, well, are you happy you won? and that's the thing about basketball that I love. You should have saw that smile light up on his face, because these kids put a lot into this game too. And have a lot of pressure from community, from coaches, from, expectations. Laneville is a basketball program. If anybody knows them in East Texas, and for them to get back to where they were before, that you could tell that was a big win. So, shout out to that Laneville team. Shout out to Martinsville. Thank y'all for that great performance that we saw, and best of luck going forward.
Transitioning to one of my favorite segments, we'll move on to the Cloudy Courtside Crown. Cloudy Courtside Crown is somebody that we noticed with a spectacular performance. Could be some huge numbers put up, or it could be a game-winning shot. And episode 6, Courtside Crown, goes to Jacksonville High School's Karmelo, better known as Melo Clayborne. And this young man filled it up on Tuesday night against Bullitt. He went for 27 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and even had a block. And the main reason he's getting this award is because of this bucket right here. It looks like a regular layup to you, but they're down 1. Final seconds of the game, and he comes through in the clutch with his offhand. If you don't know about this young man, you better get on board, because he is a flat-out scorer. I mean, 3-level scorer that can do it all. You see him finishing with his left right there. He's obviously right-handed, so he can finish with his right. He's got the mid-range game, and he also can step behind the three-point line and knock it down. Been following him for a while because they're 4A, and he's been playing against center. And Melo can flat-out fill it up.
Yeah, one thing I noticed on that clip was, it's a tight game. Emotions got to be high. But if you see the Bullard defender steps over to take a charge, and he just smoothly, calm, Euro, avoids the charge and finish, like you say, with his offhand. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a next level move. And, one thing we tell our players and teams, I know I say it all the time, is, don't give up straight line drives. Don't give up easy basketball plays. Like, make them show us that they're a player. Like, make them change direction. Make them go to the past the average basketball player and show that he's an above average basketball. And this is an above average basketball move right here. And I'm going to go a step above that because of the moment of the game. Like, this is a great basketball play made by this young man. And on top of the full stat line, and we talked about this district on last episode about where they're fighting for playoff spots, and This was an important game right here between Jacksonville and Bullard. And for him to have that type of performance, that type of finish, hats off to young Clayborne for getting the courtside crown. Can't wait to see that young man in person.
We more than likely will in the postseason. And while we're here, before we move on, shout out to our guy, Brandon Ogden. I don't know if you noticed in the top left-hand corner, he's the one who shot the video of the game-winning layup. And Brandon's everywhere. He is a basketball savant. He's all over the place. He's probably somewhere doing a college game right now. And he's basically taking me under his wing the last couple of weeks. Any question I have, he responds swiftly, always helping me out. So I appreciate you, Brandon. Shout out to that man. Moving right along to the game that we got to see on Friday night. And boy, we were not disappointed. We got to travel about 20 miles down the road to see some friendly faces. Athletic director, Coach Tory Barnes, head basketball coach Mike Randall, and the St. Augustine Wolves took on the Corrigan Bulldogs for another district championship. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we got us a good one to go to, Lino. And, man, SA jumped out on them boys and did not look back. And they were very impressive, man. What are your thoughts on the Wolves?
Well, let's talk about this first. So you got the district championship being played between St. Augustine and Corrigan. And 10 minutes up the road, you had a big District 23 2A matchup between Garrison and Tennehaw.
Yes, sir.
That was also determining playoff seedings, playoff potential, and somebody possibly one step closer to being left home. So I wanted to call you and tell you, AC, I'm gonna miss out on that St. Augustine game, and I'm gonna go down to Tennehaw, and we can just catch both of them. But I couldn't miss watching St. Augustine again, and what those guys are playing for. We had to do it. We had to do it. And so going into this game with St. Augustine, we talked about them last week on the podcast episode. How we wouldn't be surprised if we saw them ranked in the top 25 in 2A. Rankings came out on Monday, and you talk about some people hot. That the Wolves was not in the top 25. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I got permission to do this. Coach Tory Barnes said that it was disrespectful. That they are not in the top 25. He didn't stop there.
No, sir.
They should be in the top 15. And he even said, you showed me 9 teams better than us, why we shouldn't be in the top 10. We kind of paused him at top 10. But, I don't know if they listened to the podcast. I don't know if Coach Randall told the team about that in the huddle or in the locker room or in practice. Whatever he told them, they came out on a mission.
Yes, sir.
And when that ball tipped off, they hit a 7-0 run so fast, and I don't think it got any closer than that. So the Wolves, they are getting better. We just saw them a couple of weeks ago down at Broadus. We saw them before that at Holiday Hoops, and every time I've seen them, I've been more impressed with what they look like on the court. This team is scary. Now, the flip side is we'll get to that later. The game was impressive. I am a Wolfpack fan for the next few weeks, in large part because of the Renfro brothers on there. We got a close relationship with them. We got a close relationship with Tory. Coach, I'll tell you this. Everybody listen to me. Coach Randall down in St. Augustine is a top-of-the-line coach. And, a lot of that has to do with the type of man and person that he is and how he conducts himself and carries himself. That's helping lead this charge for that group of young men down in St. Augustine.
No doubt. and I spoke with him for a while after the game. We did an interview, and he was, top notch. Of course, saying everything, giving the praise to first of all God, and then to his kids. We should have kept it rolling because even after we ended the interview, he was going, man, and I'm excited for him. Excited for that program, the steps that they've taken this year. We talked about it a little bit on our own time. How basically they're just playing with house money. Nobody really expected anything. We actually talked about it last episode. Nobody expected anything of St. Augustine this year. Everybody thought Corrigan would just run through that district again, maybe win a game, but maybe that district gets swept again. But, man, after last night and what I witnessed, whoever gets fourth in 23 2A, they're going to have their hands full with that team. They can shoot it, and that's what impressed me the most. But, no, that's not what impressed me the most. Their length. They're going to defend every single shot, man, and they make it tough. Corrigan struggled to get any good looks. And when they did, they were kind of hesitant because St. Augustine had blocked so many shots previously. So, man, I'm extremely impressed with them. And, man, I can't wait to get to the playoffs, man. It's going to be crazy.
Well, that's where I was going to go. That's where I was going to go earlier. I was going to talk about that matchup in the first round.
Let's talk about.
Don't do it yet. Don't do it yet.
Yeah,
my goodness.
Guys that we saw, and then we'll jump into that. I'm ready to go with you, but let's talk about these young men. Let's start off with number 4, Mr. Roland. This young man, he can flat out shoot it from the outside, and what he surprised me the most with was his athleticism. He can get up, and when he had 3 or 4 blocks last night, 3 or 4 in Broadus, he is protecting the rim, he's defending, and he's doing an amazing job on both ends of the floor for the St. Augustine Wolves, leading the charge.
Mr. Roland, like he a basketball player. You know, you don't get that too often in East Texas. You know, I talked to Coach Barnes. You know, we had the pleasure of talking to him during the game, at halftime, before the game. You know, this young man don't play football. And I was surprised because 6'3", 180, explosive, and as quick of a jumper as he is, you know, I thought he was a highly recruited wide receiver. But, you know, he's a straight basketball player, and he is only a sophomore. Y'all heard me right. 6'2", 6'3", 180 pounds, can shoot it, explosive, and only a sophomore. So I expect to see some great things from him the rest of this year. But, yeah, this game, he really showed the full package of what he can be. That's an Augustine team. You mentioned their length. They're long, they're athletic, they can test everything, they're playing aggressive. They're exciting to watch. And, my bad, there's only 2 seniors on that team. So, St. Augustine Wolves, buy stock now.
Get in where you fit in, because according to Coach Barnes and Coach Randall, SA is back.
Yeah, and then, you know, you had, you know, not only Renfro and Roland, but you also had 2 performances, you know, from 2 other Wolves, Mr. Teagle and Mr. Malone, who, you know, they both filled the stat sheet. You know, double-digit points, you know, 5, 6, 7 rebounds. They had a
house down 13 right there. Mr. Malone. He was trying hard in that second half, and he finally got one to come to him. And when he got it, man, he let everybody in St. Augustine know what he was going to do with it. He brought the house down, got everybody on their feet up in there.
Yeah, so you don't just got one player from SA. Like, it's, you know, 3, 4, 5 players that can go get 15 on any night, and can do it all together. You didn't see selfishness. Like, it's a complete total effort, and, you know, hats off to these young men that had the big performances in a big game. Like, let's not miss out on the fact that this was for a district championship.
Yeah.
You're playing the team that ran through the district last year, and you only got 2 seniors on your team. So that the people thought that St. Augustine would win this game, and boy, did SA prove them right with a 23-point victory over the Corrigan Camden Bulldogs.
Ran away with it. Well, I see I can't hold you back no more, man. Let's just jump right into it. And let's discuss some of these matchups that we could potentially see. And you talked about how it was a huge game 10 miles down the road in one direction with Tenaha and Garrison. What about the other direction, man? You go 10 miles that way, you had another huge game with Timpson and Shelbyville. And Shelbyville really let everybody in that district know, like, hey, Beckville's going to win it this year. But we are somebody to be reckoned with, and we're a team that's going to make some noise coming into the playoffs. And they really solidified themselves in that second seed in District 23 2A.
Yeah, I mean, of course you expect them to come out with a fight after losing the game before. So we're right there being able to possibly play for a district championship. We lose a tough one at home to a hungry Tenaha team, and they came out and they jumped out. I think they were up 30-something to 20-12 at one point in that game, and man, now Timpson, they didn't quit. They fought back into the game, but at no point I don't think it got below 8 or 9 points. Like Shelbyville handled the game, and what that win did for Shelbyville was it solidified second place, but it might have been even more impactful for Timpson. Like we've been talking about Garrison and Tenaha, and somebody's gonna miss out on the playoffs, but now you got a three-team race right there between Garrison, Timpson, and Tenaha on who's going to be left at home.
Yeah, man. Last night it was crazy. So you got Timpson losing Shelbyville. Then you got Garrison going to Tenaha and still in a huge game on the road over there. It's hard to win in Tenaha, and especially with everything that's on the line. Tenaha knew, Garrison knew. Hey, we're basically fighting for a spot, like you said. That's what everybody thought before the Timpson loss last night. And for Garrison to go over there and win that game, man, that's extremely impressive. Hats off to Coach Beavers and Coach BB, because like we said, it is tough to win in the SEC. And those guys went over there and did that. So how does that shake everything up now? Like we said, we know Beckville is sitting in the driver's seat for the district championship. Now that pushes Shelbyville to second. Where does everything else line up in that district?
So now you got Garrison and Timpson tied for third at 6-4 in district. And what's now interesting is Tenaha's 1 game back. So they're in 5th place. And guess who they get to play next week?
It seems like it's a big game in this district. Every single night. And we talked about this every night. And these are playoff games. And I expect playoff atmospheres when these people are traveling to these games. So does Tenaha go to Timpson, or does I think Tenaha goes to Timpson.
Tenaha to Timpson.
Tenaha to Timpson. Who's Timpson's other matchup?
So Timpson, they're one of the teams left that has a bye. But then on Friday, Garrison goes to Timpson. So they got 2 home games, but they're gonna have to come out and fight, because these are basically win or go home type of games.
Okay, so Garrison goes from potentially you lose that Tenaha game, you could be looking at not being in, to now we're looking at, hey, we can take care of Timpson at their place, and we don't even have to see SA. We can go.
There you go.
And avoid St. Augustine and grab Corrigan and see if we can get us a first round dub. So that is interesting, man. So I never thought in my wildest dream that Timpson could be looking at potentially not making the postseason. We always lump them up there with Beckville, top of the district, going to win
Well,
it.
especially when they won that beat the number one team in the state.
Sir.
Yeah. So after that, it's kind of been like, inconsistent play. But now it's crunch time. So maybe that state championship and that winning pedigree is going to step up here down the stretch. But don't count out Tennehaw. Don't count out Garrison. There's going to be some games.
Yeah, but speaking of Timpson, they're going to need some guys to step up. Our thoughts and prayers are with Amari Bruton. He got injured in the game Tuesday night against Gary. He's in Houston right now in the hospital. So, Omar, we're praying for you. We love you, man. But now somebody's got to step up and fill those shoes. Omar's playing some really good basketball for the Bears, especially when Terry was going and playing football and taking care of the business that he had to take care of. So Nickelberry is going to have to step up some more and fill those shoes, which he's capable of. He's been showing that. Jackson Campbell, Tyler Lane, all these guys are going to have to step up and help these Bears get to where they need to get and make these playoffs. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting coming down the stretch to see how these games work out. And we're going to see a team that nobody expect stay home, unfortunately. And that's how it works, man. You got to show up, you got to play. So there's some big time matchups coming up. And we dove in on District 23 and 24 because, of course, we know that district, being coaching in that district the last few years. But next week, tune in. We'll be diving into a couple more playoff pairings as the district pictures become more clear and the matchups start to shape up. We're going to start diving in all the way from 1A up to 6A. So if you can, tag us in your records, your standings for your district on Twitter. Once again, continue to like, continue to retweet, repost on X. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Shout out to the ones that have. We're well over 100 subscribers already, right at 200 followers on Instagram. So we're just, once again, trying to promote East Texas basketball, the programs, the coaches, and the athletes. So if you have anybody in mind, so just go ahead and shoot us a message, a direct message, or you can just add us on any of these social media platforms. We're extremely active.
Speaking of that, we're excited about going over and watching Lufkin and Nacogdoches on Tuesday night for a big East Texas matchup in 5A basketball. So can't wait to see that one.
That's one of the oldest rivalries in East Texas. Excited to see that. The Dragons versus the Lufkin Panthers. And with that being said, signing out. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you.